Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06 on this historic Friday in the nation's capital, the day after the finale of the Republican National Convention 2024, and we've got you covered. Every inch of it is covered, in fact. Coming up at 8:05, Match Lap, CPAC, and 8:35, Brett Baer, Fox News Channel. I'm Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Happy Friday, Larry, and everybody out there.
Including all the Trumpomaniacs.
So all you criminals, all you lowlifes, all you scumbags, all you drug dealers, and all you crooked politicians need to answer one question, brother. What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother? God bless you, and thank you.
You know, I just can't get enough of it. We made the strategic decision with this program, Patrice, not to go to Milwaukee and not report from Media Row because we felt that our audience would best be served, and we always put our audience first when we make every decision pertaining to O'Connor and Company, that they would best be served by us being in studio and reporting on this with all of our resources and all the things that we have that we don't always have when we do a remote. And also, by the way, not for nothing, to have the host completely rested because you got to get there even an hour before you normally would because of Secret Service and security. It's a late night, all that stuff. But I got to say, I am very jealous of Charlie Spiering right now. Charlie Spiering, political reporter for the Daily Mail, our good friend over the many, many years, because he was there. And because of that moment and being able to witness history firsthand, that's the only time that I'm jealous of you, Charlie. What was it like? Tell us. What was it like when from Tucker to Hulkamania to Kid Rock to Dana White to Lee Greenwood, Melania, and then that epic speech from the president? Give us your firsthand reaction.
Hey, Larry, thanks so much. Yeah, it was pretty wild. A lot of energy on the floor, certainly with Tucker. Everybody really wanted to hear from him. You know, a situation where he's speaking off the cuff and not using a teleprompter. Then you have the Hulkster, then you have Kid Rock, a very high, amped-up crowd, and just everybody ready to hear from President Donald Trump, who really came in and delivered a historically long speech. I think that a lot of people were certainly sitting as they sat through this speech. It just kept going. The president kept riffing off of his teleprompter and coming up with new lines from his speech, and so definitely a high energy evening for everybody who was there.
You know, Charlie, that is a great way to end the convention. And I said to Larry earlier, this is probably the convention President Trump would have wanted to do in 2016, but he was new to the political scene and the establishment was running things. What's your sense about just the difference between when President Trump first ran and that RNC convention versus today, as well as just the entire movement? How have things changed and coalesced?
Yeah, everybody on the ground is talking about the energy that was there, the feelings of unity. That was 100% what you were feeling down on the floor. Delegates were just very enthusiastic, very pumped up. It was very, plus with the assassination attempt, it was just really a historic convention, one for the record books.
Charlie, we're blessed to have you here and give us your firsthand reporting, as you often do at world events that you've been able to see firsthand. But we'd be remiss in not asking you about what's going on over there with the other political party in our country, the Democrats, because you wrote the book Amateur Hour, Kamala Harris in the White House. And I want you to react a little bit to Mark Halperin's reporting. Now, much of this has been denied by the people in the middle of this story, but that doesn't mean it's not true. Here's Mark Halperin yesterday.
According to my sources, President Biden has agreed to step down as the Democratic nominee.
Oh, man.
It will happen as early as this weekend. A speech has been drafted for him. He will continue on as president, is his intention. He also will not, I'm told, endorse Vice President Harris as his successor. They're hoping that he will endorse an open process in which the convention will be open to Vice President Harris and a few other candidates in Chicago to pick the Democratic nominee for president
Halpern went on to say that Kamala Harris is already evaluating potential running mates, including Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. What do you make of this development? And also, knowing that you have some insight into the Harris team there in the White House and the administration, the fact that Joe Biden will not endorse his hand-picked successor really says something, if in fact this report is true.
Yeah, the Halpern report is one that everyone is talking about here in Milwaukee. And one of the things that they point to is, like, look, the sources that are talking to Mark Halpern have an obvious agenda here. It's really trying to push Kamala Harris to the side. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people think that, yes, Kamala Harris is the first choice and that Biden would endorse her if he decided to step down. A lot of people think, here that could happen this weekend, but others think that, the president is incredibly stubborn. Give him a couple days and he'll, continue to hold on to really put up a fight. So that means we have to wait for people like Pelosi, people like Obama to go public if they want to get him stepped down and make this more of a fight, because right now we're dealing with a lot of sources familiar, a lot of sources close to, and there's still a lot left. There's a lot left to be said before the final decision gets made.
So when the final decision does get made, and let's say it's within the next week or couple of weeks, do you have a sense about, from the Trump side and the Trump campaign, are they talking about who their opponent is going to be? Can you tell whether they're going to need to change their campaign strategy or their approach if, let's say, it's Kamala Harris or somebody totally different, or you think they're just going to steady the course?
Yeah, the Trump campaign is seems very confident at this point. Whenever somebody asks them about, a possibility of running against a Kamala Harris, they say, well, it's the Biden-Harris agenda. So Harris still has to answer for everything that's happened under their watch. So they really feel like they have to just continue running the same campaign, obviously not against a geriatric president who is declining physically, but against a vice president who's still responsible for all the tough things that American voters are handling right now.
We're speaking to the Daily Mail's Charlie Spiering, and he's author of the book Amateur Hour, Kamala Harris in the White House. It should be noted that Kamala Harris could very well be moments away or days away from ascending either as the nominee or the heir apparent, certainly, for the Democrat nomination, or maybe even to the presidency, because I still think the Democrats need to make the case that, no, he's not fit to run for president, but he's fit to be president. I can't quite square that circle. But, Charlie, I got to ask you, Kamala had to pull out of the primaries before the Iowa caucus because she was so unpopular, even among Democrats. Since she's been vice president for the last 3.5 years, based on your observation and your sources when you were writing the book, has she done anything to sort of build her coalition or to reinvigorate anything that she can point to as sort of Team Kamala there? Because that's what she's going to need if this turns into a bloody fight at the convention.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The Trump campaign basically said this yesterday. Chris Bosavita, the head of the Trump campaign, pointed to the media and said, hey, look, you're going to give her another reboot. You're going to give her a chance for another reboot because, already if she ascends if she takes over for Joe Biden, then she gets another chance to reset.
Yeah, I think we're on Kamala 8.0 at this point.
So
there have been just as many Call of Duties, I think. Yeah.
You're so right, Larry.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch. I know that you will be reporting on it, as you always do, in your professional and diligent way over there at the Daily Mail. I'm glad you woke up for us because I know you had a late night, but you'll get no violence from us because we had an earlier morning than you. Charlie, thank you, sir.
Make sure you get your sleep, Larry.
I appreciate that. You know how important it is to me. Have a safe trip back. I know you got a lot of people in your home ready for Charlie, for Daddy to get back there. Thank you, Charlie.
Absolutely. Thank you.
7:15 WMAL traffic and weather.
WMAL. Making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Patrice, Friday is always a big travel day, well, really all around the country, but certainly here in Washington, D.C., as members of Congress try to make it back to their constituents. Staffers finally get a nice long weekend, especially in the summer. But if you're going to Reagan Airport today, you're going to be greeted with the blue screen of death on many terminals as you get checked in, because there has been a massive outage having to do with Windows programming, which thankfully we run on here at WMAL, but it has not affected us so far. But it seems to affect people who have been utilizing Windows along with cybersecurity technology provided by CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike. That CrowdStrike. The same CrowdStrike that was sort of embroiled in the Hillary Clinton Democrat server story and the hackings there. Several major airlines, including American, United, and Delta, which are basically the three biggest in America, all had flights grounded today due to this technical issue. Microsoft says it's aware of it. It's impacting Windows running with CrowdStrike cybersecurity. And the CEO of CrowdStrike, George Kurtz, said that they are actively working with customers impacted by a defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts. How often do we have this situation on a much more micro level when Windows does their update and then suddenly, wait, where is everything?
Exactly.
It's happening on a global level. Mr. Kurtz continues and says this is not a security incident. This is not a cyber attack. The issue has been identified, it has been isolated, and a fix has been deployed. Of course, when I hear things like that, I immediately think, oh, so it's a
That's
cyber
exactly
attack.
what it is.
That's right.
or as some folks on X are saying, what if it's a test run? I mean, it's absolutely alarming, number one, because of its implications. It's not just limited to here in the United States. This is a worldwide issue right now. Not only is it affecting airlines, banks are being affected. So it makes you wonder, broadcasters, businesses around the world. So let's see today if there's any market impact. I'll be looking to see if there's any sort of impact in trading, but it's a reminder that all it takes is one bad download or someone to attack one system, and you can ground commerce, you can ground travel, and that's where we're at again.
100%, or one bad update, what might even be a minor update, but if you're running concurrent programs and things like, CrowdStrike technology to prevent against a cyber attack, which many major corporations are doing right now, one conflict, one I that wasn't dotted, one T that wasn't crossed, and you get the blue screen of death. And horrible for the airlines, horrible for people who are trying to travel right now. What happens when Wall Street opens? What happens when trading begins? I mean, I'm sure that they are going through it now. I'm sure that they are trying to iron this out and turn off all of these updates that created this situation. But it's something to watch, and also something to have in the back of your mind as you see how quickly we can be grounded to a halt when this happens. It's now 7:21. Patrice, during the convention, we got word that a explosion had happened right outside the American consulate in Tel Aviv, and I believe that building is the former embassy before President Trump moved it to Jerusalem. This explosion killed a 50-year-old man, injured at least 10 others. It turns out it was a drone attack from Iranian proxy Yemen. Obviously, it's just one drone. This is horrible. This is terrible, but it also could be a foreboding example of maybe a crack in the Iron Dome. This, of course, the defense system for Israel that has been able to mitigate these things. No statement from the White House that I saw. Well, I mean, it did happen it happened after Joe Biden's bedtime.
Yeah, but it's
8:30
7:30 in the morning at this point.
Still nothing from the president. But this is something serious and important to keep an eye on. 7:28.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company, and you're listening to it on this historic day after the finale of the Republican National Convention. with President Trump's historic acceptance speech of the nomination for president. And as the Republican Party is happier, more hopeful, more energized, more joyful, and more united than any time in recent memory, the Democrats are, well, they're literally falling apart right now with their candidate sick with COVID in Delaware and clinging on to Bauer as every major Democrat in this country begs him publicly and privately to get off the stage. That's the setting for today's program. And coming up at 8:05, Matt Schlapp of the American Conservative Union will join us. And at 8:35, Brett Baer on the latest attempts to alter and interfere with the democratic process there that got Joe Biden the nomination in the first place. I'm Larry O'Connor, and she right there, that woman, look at her. That's Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm excited. I'm jazzed. I'm energized.
Well, and if you're not jazzed and energized, this will change it.
So all you criminals, all you lowlifes, all you scumbags, all you drug dealers, and all you crooked politicians need to answer one question, brother. What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
Poor Meredith is going to have to deal with me now every single day throughout the day when I enter the room and she's just sitting there, reading a book or, trying to listen to music. And I'm going to come up to her and say, what you going to do with Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs? It's, we should all be doing that. Everyone, when your kids wake up this morning and they start their day and they're going to, that's what you need to do to them. You need to give them a Hulk Hogan, what you gonna do?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yes. I would do it right now, but I don't want them awake yet. So that was
Hulk. So Hulk Hogan, when he gave his address, he sort of he acknowledged the fact that he's never really been a political figure. So what brought him to the stage last night? Finally,
guys, over my career, I've been in the ring with some of the biggest, some of the baddest dudes on the planet. And I've squared off against warriors, savages. And I've even, like I said, body slammed giants in the middle of the ring. And I know tough guys. But let me tell you something, brother. Donald Trump is the toughest of them all.
He also acknowledged it, and I want to just paint the picture for you. I know we're going to get to Trump's speech. We spent an hour on Trump's speech already. If you missed that, get the podcast, but we'll spend a little bit of time. But honestly, the most iconic, memorable moment, frankly, was the Hogan speech. He came out wearing a black blazer over a black T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And then during this next moment here, I'm trying to give you the visual, he slowly started to remove the blazer, and everyone could see that he was wearing a red shirt underneath his black shirt. And while the iconic Hulk Hogan rip of the shirt happened during this passage.
And I see all the real Americans. I think about how Donald Trump, his family was compromised. When I look out there and I see Donald Trump, I think about how his business was compromised. But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I'm sorry. I just can't get enough of it.
Epic. I mean,
let me just explain something.
Electrifying.
We hear a lot about the boomers. We hear a lot about, and Trump's a boomer. And it's the battle of the boomers again, Trump versus Biden. I hear that. And then, of course, J.D. Vance is a millennial. He's like, the millennial vote, that's the most important vote. And, Trump's doing well with the Zoomers and Gen Z. Is like, let me be clear. Let me just tell you, and I know you're a millennial. Don't take this the wrong way, with all due respect. Generation X is going to elect the next president. Gen X is going to be the difference in this next election. And that right there, that done deal. I'm in. Count me in. I mean, I was already in, but now, trust me, this transcends. It transcends politics.
All right, Gen Xer, I know you all feel overshadowed by the baby boomers and the millennials. You're having your moment. I will give you that. Now, by the way, as an older millennial, I'm at the very beginning of it, maybe 1 year shy of the very beginning. We may have been in diapers, we may have been on Hot Wheels cars, but we also can appreciate Hulk Hogan. And we can appreciate the energy and the vitality, the masculinity. Can we talk for a minute about masculinity, which has been framed as toxic? No, masculinity is what saves us, saved the world in World War II from collapsing to the Nazis. Masculinity, standing up for your rights, standing up for your family. Masculinity is what protected a wife and mother from being killed by an assassin's bullet against President Trump. That firefighter was also recognized by President Trump last night. That is the masculinity that I think Hulk Hogan speaks to so well, and something that a lot of women find very attractive because they're looking for a man to be a leader. And whether it's President Trump or Hulk Hogan, what Hulk Hogan represents, I think he was great to have on stage because it's time to embrace masculinity and let femininity be feminine, masculine be masculine, and the twain shall not meet. That is what you hear from the Republican side.
Well spotted, Patrice. In fact, coming up in a moment, we do want to talk about the femininity that did appear on stage last night, which was the First Lady, who has been absent for a while, but she made a beautiful, elegant, dramatic entrance yesterday.
What an appearance.
And also something President Trump said about women, most specifically women in sports, as part of his speech, something that we have been talking about for years now. Has risen to the level of the highest possible prominence in Donald Trump's mind. We're going to share that with you in a moment, too. But you're right. It was a very masculine night. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't even hear about the American dream anymore. With great humility, I am asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Be excited. Be excited.
That was a tender and approachable message to the people that met the moment that our country is in right now. I think he senses where we are as a nation. He called us all to pull each other up. It was aspirational. It gave a sense of community, of a trauma that we have all been through, and a weariness of this division and this fight that is behind us, and the fact that it began with reaching out to those who may not have supported him in the past. Again.
So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't.
That resonated, I think, with a lot of people who continue to be Trump skeptical at this point. And for all the talk of unity over in the Biden camp, Patrice, this is what real unity is, which is, you know, if you don't agree with me, if you don't believe in me, if you haven't supported me, that's fine. Let's work together for the American dream. We have never heard that from Biden. All of his talk about unity has been about we have to unify, except remember, those MAGA fascists are going to destroy our country. That's been the continuous message. So, but I'm sorry, I just want to digress there because we also want to move on to the appearance of the First Lady. People have been asking, Patrice, where is Melania? Well, we saw her last night.
We saw her. She was graceful. She made an elegant entrance in a two-piece red suit, double-breasted, nicely tailored and cut. The skirt hit mid-calf, so a midi suit. But she was graceful, and she actually surprised President Trump on stage towards the end of his speech, and didn't fully embrace him, but gave him a very classy lean forward. They kissed on the cheek. Obviously, you don't want the president running around with red lipstick. lipstick on his face. So,
well, that Al Gore
understandably-
Tipper Gore moment is still where he
Oh,
gave
no.
her a tonsillectomy on stage. It was terrible.
Yeah,
you're
we
right.
don't want to see that either.
Melania
But
first appeared before President Trump came stage. She elegantly walked in and then stood
Mm-hmm.
watched his speech from the little box there that they had. But you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the end of the speech, she appeared on stage, surprising him. And it was truly a moment of surprise for him.
He was shocked, and it was a very tender moment, a very nice moment, and solidified the fact that she still supports him. She's still with him. For those who are saying, well, where has Melania been? Obviously, he can't pay her enough to be around him. Let's not forget Melania has had a trying year. She lost her mother earlier this year. She less than a week ago, nearly lost her husband. Her husband's been going through months of trials that have, separated the family. She's had to be the primary, taking care of her son, Barron, while Barron was finishing up his high school education. So, listen, this lady has been graceful. You haven't seen her out bad-mouthing Jill Biden. You haven't seen her out trying to upstage her husband. You haven't seen her out trying to do anything other than take care of her family. And most importantly, last night you did not see her lead her husband out by the elbow and gently walk him down the stairs because he couldn't do it on his own.
That's right.
The contrast between these two couples, two presidents, two first ladies is just amazing, and she looked breathless last night. I loved it.
Well said, well stated, well spotted across the board, and thank you for pointing out the difference between the two first ladies here, because again, the Bidens keep talking about unity and bringing this country. If you really want to unify this nation, you follow Melania Trump's lead. Where as the First Lady and as a person who is not elected to office, who has absolutely no constitutional power, she takes care of her husband and her family and represents something to the nation that everyone can support. And Jill Biden, well, she's just another divisive political hack up there on the stage, screaming about her husband's political opponents. Quickly, though, President Trump also had this line in his speech.
We will not have men playing in women's sports. That will end immediately.
I know that your colleagues from Independent Women's Forum were in Milwaukee, and they had many Title IX events there, and that must have been music to your policy ears.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fact that this issue of men and women's sports and, frankly, men and women's spaces has been elevated to the national conversation in the party platform and in the president's speech was really important. And it highlights the hard work that IWF and lots of other organizations we work with have been doing to really make this an important issue. And so it was gratifying. And that pairs well with all of the legislative wins that we've been racking up. And because I work for IWF, not because I've been directly involved, so many people have been involved in making this happen. And it's nice that this administration is saying, no, a boy in a dress is not a girl. And our policies will reflect that.
Isn't it amazing that we've reached the point where one political party has trouble saying that a boy in a dress is not a girl? Well, choose wisely, Americans. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we've got Matt Schlapp, and then we've got Brett Baer. It's 7:54.